Welcome to Food Talk for Health. Here is your host, Tony King.
My guest today is Dr. Rudrani Banik, and today we're talking about eye health. You are an integrative neuro-ophthalmologist. Tell me what that entails.
Sure. So first of all, I did my training in ophthalmology, and so I can treat any medical and surgical diseases of the eye. And then I did a fellowship in neuro-ophthalmology, which is all the connections between the brain and our eyes, and basically how we process vision, how we see. And then more recently, I have been certified in integrative and functional medicine, which really is more of a holistic approach to eye health, using the root cause approach, trying to find the root cause of a problem rather than just to put a Band-Aid on it. And as being an integrative neuro-ophthalmologist, what I do is I try to bring in things that are under people's control. So their nutrition, their diet, their supplement regimen, their lifestyle, their stress. So this is really what I do to try to bring it all together and promote vision health and brain health.
You know, that is so important because many times we're not looking at the root cause of why did this start in the first place, right?
Exactly. And there are so many examples I can give you, Tanya, about, where, for example, a very common condition is dry eye. Many people have been diagnosed with dry eye and they're told to use drops to lubricate, but that's really just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. My approach is to really figure out, why does the patient have dry eye? Is it something hormonal? Is it inflammatory? Is it autoimmune? And so I do some extra testing to try to uncover the root cause and then address the problem based off of what we uncover.
What is your take on the fact that we live in such a computerized world these days? Everybody is staring at a laptop, an iPad, a phone. How damaging is that to our eyes?
Yeah, well, screens are part of our daily lives. We spend hours and hours and hours a day in front of screens, whether we're children, adults. It's really an integral part of our world. Luckily, there is no permanent damage done to our eyes by staring at screens all day. However, that being said, there can be some short-term side effects. And in the eye care world, we call this digital eye strain, which is a constellation of symptoms, including dry eye, which I was mentioning earlier, but also trouble focusing, blurred vision, sometimes light sensitivity, and sometimes patients may even get headaches or migraines from being on screens all day. So it can, not do any permanent damage, but you have to think about some of these symptoms, which luckily can be addressed and prevented using the right strategies.
I've heard that you can actually get glasses to help prevent. Is it blue eye?
Yes. So our screens emit various wavelengths of light, and one of the wavelengths is blue light. And blue light is very common. It's actually the majority of blue light we get comes from the sun, but our screens emit a lot of blue light, and it can cause eye strain. It can cause light sensitivity, and it can also cause sleep issues. People may have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep if they're exposed to too much blue light, especially later in the day. And so many people have been marketed to to get blue blocking glasses. And what I'll share with you is that there is no scientific evidence to show that blue blocking glasses actually work. So what I would recommend is, please don't waste your money. There are much better ways to block blue light and prevent against eye strain. And, actually, Tanya, I wanted to share that, this concept of eye strain and screens and blue light, these are topics that we discussed during the upcoming Eye Health Summit. It's happening May 1st through May 7th. It's online, completely free to join, and people can learn and educate themselves about what they can do that's science-backed to be proactive about their vision.
And how do we find out about the Eye Summit? Is there a link, or is there an email? Is there a website? How do we link into that?
Yes. So very simple. You just go to our website, theeyehealthsummit.com, and you can register. It's for free. Just put in your name, your email, and then you will get, when we're launching on May 1st. And so you'll get the links to join. And it's 7 days worth of expert interviews. So I've interviewed 36 of my colleagues for this, and we're talking about all kinds of topics, from cataracts to macular degeneration to kids' eye health, and even some of the aging concerns that many people have around our eyes, like dark circles or eye bags and sags or fine lines. and wrinkles. So I brought together all these experts to try to share their knowledge, their insights, their experience to really help people manage their eye issues and really be preventative against eye disease.
I'd like to know your suggestions for nutrition to keep our eyes healthy.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. So I always like to say, if you're just eating carrots and you're relying on that for your vision, that's not enough. Carrots are really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to ocular nutrition. And in actuality, the most important nutrients we need don't come from carrots. They actually come from leafy greens like kale and spinach and collard greens. These are nutrients our eyes need to fight against oxidative stress and free radical damage and macular degeneration and eye strain. These nutrients are called lutein and zeaxanthin. They're kind of hard to pronounce, hard to remember, but they're the eye nutrients that we need. And there are so many foods rich in these nutrients that we can include in our diet. But unfortunately, carrots don't have these nutrients. So you need to go beyond carrots to get these nutrients. By the way, I've also written a book called Beyond Carrots, the Best Foods for Eye Health A to Z. And in the book, I talk about these nutrients, and there are over 40 different foods people can use in their or incorporate into their diets to provide them with optimal ocular nutrition.
Many times we don't think about providing our eyes with nutrition, right? Unless you do have glaucoma, macular degeneration, or something else. Then all of a sudden it opens up a whole different door. But I think the average person, when you're thinking about trying to take care of yourself and build your immune system, sometimes you forget about your eyes.
Yes, and unfortunately, most of us take our eyes for granted. As
Yeah.
you said, we wake up in the morning, we expect we're going to be able to see, and it's only until something goes wrong where we can't see well that we recognize the importance of eye health. And this is also one of the real purposes or the mission of the summit, the Eye Health Summit coming up on May 1st, is we want to raise awareness of eye conditions because so many things can be prevented. Over 50% of potentially blinding conditions like glaucoma, macular degeneration, dry eyes can be prevented using the right strategies. And we want to get this information out there to really empower people to know what to do to promote their eye health.
I know diabetes can really lead to vision loss, right?
Yes. Yes, that's another topic we talk about on the Eye Health Summit. Diabetes it can really wreak havoc in the eye, unfortunately. And what it can do is it can affect the retina. It can cause damage to the small, tiny blood vessels in the retina. The blood vessels can become leaky, and then that can lead to bleeding in the eye or vision loss. So there's so many complications from diabetes people may develop. And again, it's preventable by, optimizing your diet and not having too many refined carbohydrates or simple sugars. There are just so many things people can do to prevent diabetic retinopathy. And it's quite sad. I've seen over my career, over the past 25 plus years or so, I've seen so many cases of even young people with diabetes because we know even children can develop diabetes, even teenagers, young adults can develop diabetes where they sustain vision loss. And once that damage is done, it's very sad. It's irreversible. But we need to act and we need to teach people how to prevent these types of conditions because once that type of damage happens to the eyes can't regenerate. Much of the eye tissue is so vulnerable, so fragile, so susceptible to damage. So we want to just support our eye health, and nutrition is really the cornerstone of it.
Absolutely. Now, there is a difference between wet and dry macular degeneration, correct?
Yes, and this is also a topic that we discussed several times in the Eye Health Summit. So there are different stages of macular degeneration. And in the earliest stages, we call that dry macular degeneration. So there's a very subtle changes that happen in the back of the eye, then eventually that may progress. So in the earliest stages, we call it dry, but then it can evolve into something that we call wet macular degeneration, where people can have from the degenerative changes in the retina, people can have bleeding in the back of the eye and fluid and protein and lipids that extrude out of capillaries. And we call this wet macular degeneration. And that's when people can really lose vision. And we know that diet, we were talking about diet earlier, but having these leafy greens, having other foods rich in these ocular nutrients can actually reduce the risk of macular degeneration progression by about 43%.
Wow.
43% reduction if you're having the right nutrients in your diet to fight against this blinding disease.
Boy, it really is important to educate ourselves in that regard. Now, what about vitamins?
I'm a big proponent of vitamins. There have been some very large studies looking at supplementation for macular degeneration. Some people may have heard of the AREDS supplements, which are oftentimes taken for macular degeneration patients. But I strongly believe, unless you have a very a diet that's plant rich, meaning at least 5 cups of fruits and veggies in your diet per day, probably then if you don't have that, you're not getting enough nutrients in your diet for your eyes. And so I would recommend filling in the gaps and taking an eye health supplement. And there are many on the market, many, many. I actually have my own line of eye health supplements. But what I would say is when you're seeking an eye health supplement, you want to look for an ingredient called lutein. And this is, again, one of those eye nutrients I was mentioning earlier. But this is an essential nutrient that you need to use as a supplement to protect against eye strain from being on screens, to protect against macular degeneration. There's some early work to show that it can also protect against glaucoma and maybe even cataracts. So again, look at the label for your supplement and make sure it has at least 20 milligrams of lutein in it.
We are talking with Dr. Rani Banik. Tell me about the 20-20-20 rule.
Yeah, so this is a very simple strategy. If you're having eye strain from being on screens hours and hours a day, follow this strategy. So basically what it means is 20-20-20. Every 20 minutes, set your timer, take a 20-second break, and look at something. Don't look at your screen. Look at something far in the distance, about 20 feet away. And what that does is it relaxes your eye muscles and it gives you a short break. And really only 20 seconds is what you need to reset, reboot, and then you can start looking at your screen again. So I always tell my patients that it may take a little while to get into the habit, but set your timer and do this on a regular basis. And really you'll feel the immediate benefits for your eyes if you're suffering eye fatigue and eye strain.
I think some folks do really suffer from eye strain, especially if they're having to either look at a computer screen all day or even a book. It seems that when you're focusing strongly on something, after a while, you can feel that effect.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. There are actually muscles inside of our eyes that are working so hard when we're focused up close. And I'll share this with you just for perspective. If you think back to our ancestors who were hunter-gatherers, their world was mainly spent looking in the distance, looking for threats, looking for those, the things that may, potentially be like a fight or flight type situation. So they didn't really spend that much time looking at objects up close. Versus now in our modern daily world, we are looking at things up close the majority of the day. And this really puts a strain on our eye muscles and it gives us eye fatigue. And so again, the 20-20-20 rule is so effective. Another thing that can be really effective, this has more to do with dry eye, that is simply blink more. And many people don't really think about blinking because it's kind of it's an automatic thing that we do, kind of like our heartbeat, our respiration rate. We don't really think about our blink rate. But if you just make a conscious effort to blink more, then you'll lubricate your eyes, you'll fight against dry eye, and you'll also help fight against eye strain and fatigue.
Boy, it's great to get all of these tips. Tell me more about the Eye Summit, how our listeners can tune in.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's theeyehealthsummit.com. So please join us. You can register. It's completely free. Attend one session, attend them all, whatever your schedule allows for. There are so many amazing speakers and topics. You can go to our website. You can see the day's agendas and which topics, which speakers are being highlighted on which days. We also have live sessions in the evenings where people can join us. We'll have a Zoom panel discussion. So you can submit your questions and we'll have our expert speakers hopefully answer your questions. So there's a recorded component as well as a live component. The recorded component is at your own pace, so you can do it on your own time. If you're working, you can do it later on after work, etc. But the live component is going to be every day of the summit from 6 p.m. Eastern until 6:45 p.m. Eastern.
That's great. We're talking with Dr. Rani Banik, founder and medical director of EnVision Health, New York City. I was going to ask where you're based out of, but I think I just answered my own question.
Yes, yes. I'm located right in the heart of Manhattan. So if you're in the area, please come see me. I'm happy to help you, happy to help you with your vision.
I really appreciate your time today and all of your information about trying to keep our eyes healthy. Is there another website or anything? How can we find out more about you through social media?
Absolutely. So my website is my name, drranibanik.com. And I also share a lot on social media. So if you're on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you can find me there. My Instagram handle is probably my most active one, which is dr.ranibanik. And yeah, please follow, please connect. I'm happy to always meet with people and try to help them out in any way I can.
Thank you so much for all of your important information and your time today, Dr. Rani.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Food Talk for Health with Tonya King. Thanks for joining us. Eat well to be well.
We hope you'll subscribe to this podcast. Thanks for listening to Food Talk for Health.